Hi, it's Amy from Mad Dots Arts. Today I'm coming back with a new tutorial. So I've been just experimenting on little pieces of paper to find some new designs that I like. And I came up with this pretty white and blue design that I thought I would show you how to do today. Reminds me kind of like a China pattern, which I've always been drawn to the dark blues and the whites. So the paint that I'm using today, I'm doing a really big project. If you can believe it, part of it is as tall as I am. I'm only 5 feet, so that's not too big of a challenge. Unfortunately, I can't show you the color number because it's been worn off. But this is the Apple Barrel Matte, and it's the cobalt hue. But any dark blue that you have or like would work for this. I am using, actually this is photo paper because I don't have any white cardstock. So whatever white paper that you have that you're, if it's just for practice, you could even use like a paper plate, or cardstock works good, or poster board. What's nice about it is you don't have to really put any base coat on it, so it's kind of nice. So this is about a 5x7 sheet that I'm working on. You could definitely use something smaller, especially if all you want is that center design. You don't really have to do the extra little pieces on there. To find, no matter what size, to find your center point, you just want to put your ruler corner to corner and make a little slight cross in the middle, and then do it in the opposite direction. Corner to corner, make a little line, and then where your two lines meet is your center. I am using a 16 segment stencil guide, and just quick marking that up. This is a watercolor pencil. Watercolor pencils, as opposed to regular colored pencils, are water soluble, so they'll wipe off with a wet Q-tip. And that's why I prefer to use those for dot mandala marking up, so they wipe off real easy in the end. And then just fill out all 16 parts. And I think if you don't have this, you can do pretty well, I think, without, if you don't have a stencil. Even if you just do side to side and up and down and crisscross with your ruler, it should give you enough lines to use. All right, I am using the DIY mandala stones set of tools, and I know not everybody has those. Excuse my pause here. I will get out my acrylic rods to show this in this different sizes. I think a lot of people have these acrylic rods because they're very accessible, very easy to find, and really reasonably priced for the most part. I just have way too many tools. 10 and an 8. Honestly, it's kind of nice with this one because you really only have to use one color, so you won't have a lot of switching. All right, so actually maybe I'll just use this set since I have them out. I'm going to start with the blue rod. It's the dark blue rod. If you are using the DIY mandala stones, it would be your size 16. I'm gonna dip it in that paint real good, and then that's gonna be our center dot. So, as I've said in the past, I'm just using paper towel to wipe my tools off when I'm done. If you don't get a nice perfect dot, you can always re-dip and just lightly tap on top of where you dotted. And then I'm gonna switch over to my nail dotting tools. I'm gonna use the white tool. So the end that I don't have labeled here is 1.5 millimeter, and then the bigger end is the 2.0 millimeter. I am going to use the 1.5, the small end of the white tool, and I'm just going to make dots around the big circle. And then with this one, you want to try and not actually have your paint touch that middle circle. Leave a little room between the dots. And as you start to get closer, you kind of just want to test and see if you can still get 2 in there or 1. Perfect. So that's kind of how most of these start out. So that probably looks familiar if you've done any tutorials before. Now I'm just going to go up to the larger side of that white tool. That's 2.0 millimeter. And we're going to stagger these dots above, kind of above the space from the row before it. So you can see that they're not lining up directly on top of each other, but they're kind of staggered. And you're just going to do that all the way around. Okay. Now I'm going to flip back over to the smaller end of the white tool, and we're going to do some swooshes. So I'm going to start on this circle that's right, the first circle above where I made those dots. I'm going to make a quick little dot and then drag it in between the dots. So you can see I started on the circle and I just dragged that paint in between the dots below. Just do that all the way around. Okay, and then once again we're going to switch to the bigger end of that white tool, the 2.0, and we're going to go up. On my pattern, I'm going to start it right where this line kind of ends or starts, depending on how you're looking at it. at the tip of that line, I'm going to make my dot and swoosh it down, drag it down. Now, if your paint is too thick, you won't get a very good swoosh. So you'll want to use something to thin it out. I like pouring medium, or you could use a little bit of water. I would refrain from going too heavy with the water because it can make your paint crack as it dries up. But just for the sake of practicing, if your paint is too thick or too dry, you won't get good swooshes. So then you'll want to just go ahead and thin it out or moisten it up just a little bit. I think that's a fun thing to just practice with. Just get a sheet of cardstock or an empty box or something that you're not using, like your inside of your cereal box or cardboard, and just practice some things like swooshes. I'm not going to wipe off my tool because we're going to use that big side of the white tool again. And this time I'm just going to make a dot above the shorter line. Just fills in that little area kind of nice. Making it relatively even with where my larger swooshes start. That's how we're looking so far. Okay, so next I am going to use my the middle size of the clear rods, which is a size 8 if you're using the DIY mandala tools. And then I'm going to take first, if you are looking at it like a clock, I'm going to go ahead and do my 6 o'clock first. And I'm going to make kind of a diamond shape with my dots. So you want 4 dots and a diamond. And then I'm going to flip it over so the top becomes the bottom and do that same thing. So for me on my stencil, I do have a circle there too. That's where I'm putting my first dot. And then I'm going to shift it 90 degrees and do my 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock if you're thinking of it like a clock. Okay, and now I want to go in between where I put those and do it again. So this is kind of my in-between. You see there's 3 spots that are not filled, and I want to take that middle one. That's where it would go. So basically you'll end up having it, you'll have 1 spot open in between each of your diamonds. If you use the same stencil, that is. We just don't want them too close together, so then we can't get all the detail in there. Okay. So now I'm going to take the pink tool and I'm going to use the smaller side of the pink tool. That will be a 1.0 millimeter. I'm going to start at the top of one of the diamonds and drag it towards the center. I'm basically going to be making kind of a U shape with these. So the first one will start up here and kind of drag it down, and then do the same from the opposite direction and try to make your shape should kind of come out like a U shape there. And then I'm going to do one more inside of those. And we'll go ahead and do that all the way around. So you just have two little kind of U shapes. I haven't connected mine in the middle, but you certainly can if you like that better. A lot of swooshes. So here again, if your paint's not moving for you the way that you wish that it would, you might need to thin it out just a little bit so it moves, glides across your paper better. Oops. I think it's kind of fun to see the patterns start to come together. Like each element that you put in there totally changes the look of it. Super cool. And then in the center of where we have those U-shaped guys there, I'm gonna just take the larger end of the white tool and just make a dot in the middle to fill in that little U shape. So just one little dot in the middle. Nice. So I'm going to keep that same tool. I'm going to use the larger end of the white tool. I like to clean it off from time to time so that my shapes are the same size. If it starts to get a buildup of paint, it will change the size and the shape of your elements that you're doing. So I'm going to do another swoosh in the opposite direction. So this time we're starting at the bottom and pulling up towards the center. So it's kind of an upside down U. And I am gonna actually do 3 on the bottom. There's a little more room on the bottom so we can get more in there. The only real detail here is that you want to make sure you leave a little space between your lines so they don't run together. Like, gives it that kind of crisp little look. And again, if you want them to meet in the middle, you sure can do that. I'm just leaving a slight little gap in between. And then I'm going to do the same thing in between where we have that little U shape left there. I'm just going to take that larger side of the white tool and just make a dot in there. Actually, I'm dipping quite a bit extra so it makes a little bit bigger dot in there. So really load up your tool and tap a couple times, and that'll give you a little bit bigger dot. Depends on your paint. I'm not a big fan of apple barrel paints for dotting. Like I said, I was actually using this for a big project where I needed it for the background color. But since I have it and I really love cobalt blue, I'm just using it, so kind of nice for this project. So that's the base of my little China pattern, if you will. If you want to, like I did for this cute little tray that I made, I just put some little extra elements on the outside. And I'll show you how to do that in case that's something that you want to do. So I'm using that blue tool again, which is number 16 if you're using the DIY mandala stones tools. I really didn't measure how far these are. You certainly could, if you had more guidelines drawn, measure it out. I just want to make sure I have enough room so I can make some little extra elements on there. Kind of little spikes or swooshes, if you will. So I probably won't go through all 4 sides, but I'll just show you how to do one, and then it's pretty easy to just apply that to all 4. I am going to use, we'll just stick with the white tool. I'm going to use the smaller end of the white tool and just make dots. This is going to be pretty similar to what we did in the middle, so we're just going to make little dots around. And I am dipping each time for these. And then I'm gonna go up one size to that bigger side of the white tool, and do again where we're just gonna stagger them in between the spaces of the one below. And then I'm gonna switch to the, you know, for this one, I'm actually gonna go down a tool size. I'm gonna go to the smaller side of the pink tool. That's a 1.0. And I'm just gonna make some little swooshes here. Just try to eyeball where the last one started, so they kind of end up in the same spot. I didn't go to the trouble of making guidelines for these. I'm a little rebel, I guess. The tricky part is doing it when the center part is wet and you don't want to get your hand or sleeve in there. Ideally, with mine, I let the middle part dry first and then I came back and did this side design, but for sake of tutorial, this is fine. I can work upside down, sideways. Once you're doing it long enough, you can work in almost any direction. Okay, and then I'm going to switch to the larger side of the pink tool, your 1.5, and just make a little dot. I think for these, I just placed it pretty close to the dot below. Here I didn't line it up with the top of the swoosh. I just kept it a little closer to that dot underneath. So that's how that turned out. And you would just continue by doing that. I was just monkeying around earlier with different variations. Let's see, that's not it. So I was trying, you know, little flowers. The other side I put little flowers to see what I thought of that, just for trying them out. So you can, there's a lot of different things you could try, especially if you're handy with the tools and knowing how to do that kind of to the flowers. These, I didn't think they turned out very nice, so I decided not to do that. But yeah, that's kind of my little China pattern tea flower, if you will. I don't know what it would be called, but my happy little blue mandala. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.